Destiny made manifest. Mashes tugged his left glove down as he walked, flexing his fingers to make sure the thing fit. The Sororitas and Terra had kept vigil outside the throne room, waiting for any sign from within, and while the Inquisition had other matters for him to deal with in and around the palace, he still made an effort to keep an eye on the Empress-favored student. Even the most traditional members of the Inquisition would appreciate the vigil, except, perhaps, Lord Marcos, but that was a matter for the Ordo Hereticus. He was returning to the quarters that had been set up for him and his henchmen. While nothing spectacular, they at least were comfier than the halls of the Sanguinium martyrs. He had been given a room for himself, such was his right as an inquisitor of the Ordos, though in practice it often proved difficult to keep his observations subtle. Mashes stepped into the room, taking a moment to survey what lay ahead. Terra was there, with Angelique seated on the floor staring off into space. "I had thought you would be with the Sororitas waiting for the Empress," he said, closing the door behind him. "I was, but Sister Bianca said I needed proper rest." Terra sat up straighter, arching her back in an attempt to stretch out more. "We've been watching the gate for a week and nothing has happened, so I suppose she's right. The mare grazes and strikes the word, and lights the path before her." Angelique mumbled, tracing something on the ground before Terra spoke again. "So, we switched, she would take over my spot, and I would watch Angelique for a few hours." "She could have asked me to do that," Mashes offered. It was not unreasonable, but now he could see just how well the student interacted with Angelique, and whether her presence had any effect on the little psyker. "Well, I was there when she offered, and you were not." "Fair point." Mashes found a seat across from Terra. "How has she been?" "Pleasant currents flow down the stream, and the little mares are left to sink." Angelique giggled, rocking back and forth slightly as the others watched. "I'm guessing this is normal?" Terra asked. She always seemed quieter when around Sister Bianca. "The pillar is broken, but a friend holds out her hand. Sister Bianca has a calming effect on many patients she has treated, some of them psychers," Mashes said. "I have researched it as best as I can, and there are few non-psychers that can claim such effects. It's a good thing, though," Terra said. "Of course, without Bianca's help Angelique would probably have fallen into insanity long ago." Mashes sighed as he watched Angelique rocking back and forth. "It's a pity that she was not present when Angelique's powers manifested. Perhaps the young psyker would not need all of us watching over her like this." "Well, there has to be more that you can do to help her," Terra offered. "Someone who's well versed in treating these sorts of things." "Psychic burnout isn't like a disease or injury," Mashes started, but Terra could not be stopped. "If you have the proper facilities set up, with people who know how to control their powers at the ready, then you can stop any potential overload and make sure that people can use their powers properly. It's basic magical safety." Terra gave a short chuckle. "I mean, what else are you going to do, throw them in a box and wait for them to calm down?" Mashes was uncertain if calling the black ship's boxes was an adequate comparison, so he decided to move on. "I presume the Empress taught you much during your time as her student?" "Oh yes." Terra nodded. "Though, you'd probably get bored if I told you everything." "The mare's thoughts overflow with knowledge," Angelique sang, looking up to Terra. "Hurry now, before the light grows impatient." "Perhaps some other time, then," Mashes said. "The Inquisition is always keen on gathering more knowledge." Terra nodded as Mashes continued. "On different matters, you have been doing well? I know that you seemed a bit stressed when the Empress decided to lock herself away from the world." "I know," Terra's features softened before she spoke again. I just felt like there was more that I could have done. Corix just seemed lost. I think if he just had someone to talk to, maybe he wouldn't be so harsh on himself. I imagine that there is only one person alive that can truly reach him, Terra, and I believe she has already taken the matter well in hand." "Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt if we tried to help him, though," Terra said. There was a pause before she spoke. "You think I'm hopelessly naive, don't you?" Mashes looked towards Angelique, the psyker giving him an odd smile. "Well, hopeless is probably the wrong word. Don't worry, you wouldn't be the first to call me that," Tara shook her head. I'm still trying to understand why you all are so set on seeing only the negative aspect of things. You, Korux, Sister Naomi, you all consider anything you do tantamount with some great sin. Optimism and hope are dangerous things, Tara, Masha said, eyes narrowing slightly. Place too much trust in what you hope will happen, in what you assume to be the true nature of things, and you risk falling far should that nature prove to be nothing but hollow conjecture. Tara furrowed her brow at this. But with no hope, what's the point? Why would you or anyone else still keep fighting if there was no chance that something good could come from it? Mashes had no immediate answer, and before one could form in his mind, Angelique interrupted once more. Many miles before we sleep, Angelique mumbled before looking up to Tara. The mare will see us then, will she not? Of course. Tara said, giving a quick smile. I'd be a bad friend if I didn't. Friend, Angelique repeated, looking at Tara as if she were the Empress herself. You have many friends, out there. I don't, Mother fell before the darkness came in. That was, far more lucid than she usually is. Mashes said after a moment. If it is all right with the Empress, perhaps you would be interested in joining my retinue? Maybe you and Sister Bianca might be able to stabilize Angelique. That would be fascinating, but I'm sure the Empress would want me at her side. Tara smiled. But there's no reason why you can't join us. Maybe she can teach you how to make sure Angelique stays lucid more often. Well, Mashes paused again. That is certainly a generous offer. I am sure the Inquisition would be willing to allow me to continue my service alongside you and the Empress. And perhaps figure out who exactly you are, Lady Tara. I'd like that. Tara nodded. You've really helped me adjust to this kind of life, Mashes. I'd probably be just as lost as I was on that Tau world if you weren't here to help. Naively optimistic as she might have been, at least Tara was sincere about her appreciation for others' help. Their conversation was cut short by a knock on the door to the room. Mashes turned slightly as Sister Rebecca stepped in, quickly giving a bow before speaking. Lady Tara, she said. Pardon my interruption, but the gate has opened and the Empress has returned, along with Primarch Korux and the representatives of the Astaroths. Really? Tara asked, eyes widening. Yes. She has asked all of us to assemble in the Hall of the High Lords for something. Rebecca shook her head before beaming. She actually spoke to me, and trusted me to relay her message. As wonderful as that is, Mashes said, rising and motioning for Angelique to do the same. We best not keep the Empress waiting. If she wishes our presence before the High Lords, it is obviously some matter of importance. Outward, into the darkness we step, onward to the breaking of the mare. Angelique said, bouncing to her feet. This is not going to be a problem, is it? The sister asked, one eyebrow raised. Believe me when I say that she is doing much better today than she has in times past. Celestia had dismissed the Astaroths for now. They would serve their purpose in her plan, but standing before the High Lords would be her burden, not theirs. Silently she strode down the hall towards the gathering lords, eyes focused on the entryway ahead. You still have not lost your intensity, have you? Korux said from his place next to her. I try to be more open in some of my mannerisms, she replied. But I am still a ruler, I must project at least some level of control and reservation to those who would serve me. I am not one to be lectured on reservation, Empress. Celestia was uncertain as to how to properly reply to that, so remained silent for now. They had spoken at length on many things, but the Primarch still had more to tell her, more to come to terms with. More coals to heap on her head, perhaps. Celestia was momentarily broken from her thoughts as Twilight and Inquisitor Mashes entered the hallway, Matthias' retinue and the Sisters of Battle following close behind. Good, they managed to meet up with each other. They spotted her and Korux as she drew closer to the main entrance, coming to attention as Celestia stopped before them. My friends, she said. Thank you for coming here so quickly. Such is our duty, Empress, Mashes said, though he appeared unwilling to look at Celestia directly. What are your commands? For now, I would ask that you stand by my side. We are stepping forward on a dangerous path, and I need your assurance that you all will be prepared for that which is to come." There were several nods from the group, Twilight giving Celestia a quick smile or reassurance. Angelique cocked her head to one side, mumbling a short bit about breaking the mare, but Celestia paid it no mind. That would be a problem for later, when Twilight risked drifting from her sight. "Come, we'd best not keep the others waiting, everything will be explained in due time." Mashes, Twilight, and the others nodded, falling into place behind Celestia and Corax as the two stepped out into the Hall of the High Lords. Almost as soon as Celestia crossed the threshold, she was greeted with a cacophony of cheers and praises, the masses that had been allowed to observe the High Lords calling out to their Empress. The only ones that did not appear enthusiastic were the custodes, ever vigilant even in the presence of Celestia, and a few members of the High Lords, looking even more dour than usual. "They will come around. They must, if we are to have any chance at survival." Celestia raised her free hand, a signal for everyone to quiet. "Children of the Imperium," she said, her voice carrying to even the furthest corner of the hall. "I thank you for your welcome. It is a reminder of how we stand united as one against the encroaching darkness." More cheering, but this soon died out, allowing Celestia to continue. "But it is not only for me that you should extend your welcome." Celestia stepped to the side, gesturing to Corax. "My son, Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard, has returned to us. For many years there were those who thought that he had perished, but now he stands before you once more." The praise for Corax was, perhaps, less than she would have liked, but Corax himself did not appear fazed by such trivial concerns. He had only just been returned to the Imperium, it would take him a little time to adjust to such norms. "No doubt, Primarch Corax will do much to ensure the safety of the Imperium," she said, silencing the crowd once more. "For that is what we have truly been lacking in these last years, true safety. In the centuries since I departed, our enemies have seen us as weak, a dying people clinging to what little we have while they are free to take what they please." There was a pause before she smirked. "How foolish of them, that they think such things. My friends, today we stand on the brink of a new age. No longer will humanity have to cower in fear of the darkness, no longer will we have to lash out at enemies we cannot see. Together, we unite to purge this realm of all that dares challenge our might." "How do you endeavor to do that?" one of the more troublesome High Lords asked. "If you will not give the High Lords a say in how the Imperium is to be defended." "Defended?" Celestia repeated before chuckling. "It is not defense that I call, the time has come for us to go on the attack, to strike back against our enemies and show them that the Imperium will rule the galaxy. It is our destiny, made manifest by our strength of body and mind, of our purity of heart and soul, and we must do all that we can to ensure that destiny remains within our grasp. I have called you here today to remind you of that. I have called you here to summon a new crusade, far greater than any that have come before. With my sons returning, and with my power restored, we will march forth and banish the darkness that has for so long been our enemy. I swear today, not a moment will pass when I am not advancing against the enemy, when they have not tasted my wrath as I strike them from the stars. Today I say to you that a new age has begun, the true golden age of humanity. I swear, as your Empress, that mankind will reign supreme once more, and forever." No sooner had Celestia finished that the hall erupted in cheers. Even some of those High Lords that had been skeptical of her gave a small smattering of applause, though a few still remained as dour as ever. They would come around in due time. For now, the second Great Crusade would need to be prepared. The Supreme Grand Master frowned as the last recordings of the Empress' speech to the High Lords played out. She spoke with conviction and power, no doubt, and she had Corax at her side to prove her worth, but there were still too many variables that had not been addressed. Too many for him and his brothers to bend the knee in her presence. A second Great Crusade, he mused. It would do well for the Imperium, or could lead us all to ruin. And this Empress, even psychic visions can be manipulated. He paused before turning back to the command chair. "What say you, my lord?" There was another pause. The Supreme Grand Master waited for his lord to speak. Too long had he been silent, and now with the Imperium under threat he was needed more than ever. The Supreme Grand Master was trained well enough not to lose his composure, but such tensions were not so easily quelled. We will did as we have done before, we watch, and we wait. Give this Empress time to prove she is who she boasts that she is, and then I will speak with her. Should she fail, we will have to rescue the Imperium from its fate. But that is a matter for later, for now, we must be prepared. He rose up, striding past the Supreme Grand Master as he ventured further into the rock. Send word to our brothers, the lion will stand ready to return to the Imperium, but only when this woman has proven to be the Emperor reborn.